Hello, Just Jax here and welcome to my channel. Today we are back with UV Resin, the spheres, this time a paper rose. And we are going to try once more to insert something without bubbles. So let's see how this goes. I am going to don my mask because there will be some heating involved. So I will sound a little bit muffled. And gloves, which I not only got out, but I got a pair laid out because I had them out the other day and I still forgot to put them on. Right, let's try this again. So this should, in theory, be a little bit easier. In fact, I might get tweezers to see if we can pop that right in there. But I'm not going to have to hold it there. That's going to be a difference. So let's get some UV resin in there first. Now, again, there is currently no bubbles in that. I'll try and place this right in the middle. Now, I'm going to stop this for a second while I blast the side of this with heat because I don't want to press it down. I just want any bubbles that are starting to appear to come up that touch. Right, I don't see any bubbles. So we're going to go straight on there with the lamp and let it set, let it cure. And when we come back, fingers crossed, there will still be no bubbles. The rose shouldn't have sunk. And we will try putting the lid on and seeing if we can do this with no bubbles. Okay, let's have a little peek. There doesn't look like there's any bubbles right now. So let's try, see if this makes a difference. If we put this around the rose first, then we'll give it a tiny bit of heat. To see if that can just all fall in where it needs to fall in and eliminate any bubbles. Okay, we're giving it a little heat. I'm going to give it another cure over that rose. I don't see any bubbles at the moment, so fingers crossed this is going to help. Okay, so far so good. There still doesn't appear to be any bubbles. So I'm hoping if we put the lid on now, this is going to be the moment of truth. We'll put the lid on now. We'll start to fill it up. And I've also had the resin sat in my pocket to warm up a tiny bit. So hopefully it won't be so thick. Right. I'm starting to block the hole. That's why I've got this stick ready. and kitchen roll. Right, I think now might be a good time to blast it with heat again, cure it whilst it's just over, we'll call it the equator, and then try and continue filling it. So let me get the heat on that. Okay, I think so far so good. I think. Let's find out. I'll put more resin in there. Right. I'll give it another blast with the heat. And then this will be the final cure. Hopefully, there still doesn't appear, I use my non-UV light, to be any bubbles. Maybe one. I don't know, we'll see. It doesn't seem to be as bad as the other one, so I'm just going to stop this again. Okay, this is in the final rotation of curing. I have since had a little peek at it with my non-UV light, and I do believe, despite best efforts, that there is a little train of bubbles around the one edge. Sort of like, you know, big, smaller, smaller, tiny, all around the edge. We'll see, but it definitely doesn't look like the shape of the rose, so I think we're going to have considerably less bubbles than this one, which I've still yet to polish. I think down there you can see there's just all these bubbles here, all these bubbles up there, and I still haven't got the nipple off. So it's going to be better than that one. And I'm not going to be polishing this one until I've got a polishing kit. Or I might try wet with this thing. We'll see. We'll see. I think we're probably good to come out now. So let's have a look. Yes, they're the bubbles that I was just mentioning. Dot, 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 dot. And they're quite by the surface, so we were doing the right thing. There is considerably less bubbles. And they are all by the surface. But obviously didn't heat it long enough. There doesn't appear to be any bubbles in the actual rose itself, which is good. And pretty much none on the bottom. Just take some of this edge off that we can break off. Well, once again, the curing aspect hasn't been an issue. I'll go around and clean these up in a moment. I've got to resist the urge to keep going. So, like, it's one of those silly little things that once you start, you kind of want to continue. So I've got to put that down, otherwise I will. Same for this. I'll put that down before I continue. Now this has come out so much better. Let's see, there's some surface bubbles because I can even feel them with my nail. And this. These are all surface bubbles. We haven't done too bad when it comes, I'm wobbling off centre. We haven't done too bad when it comes to actually inside. Though there's a weird line there, I don't know what that is. Maybe that's like a long thin bubble. I'm not too sure what that is. But you can see it from that angle, right? There's some lines in there. Are they like fissures? Fissures? I wonder if it was a case of if we were to fill, since these are surface, if we were to put some on there, it would fill. I guess we could try. Because that'll, we can use that to hold it there. So I guess we can try. See if that will make any difference. I'll give it a try. I'm up for trying. Let's just zap that with a little bit of heat. I mean, it looks like it's filled in the hole without any obvious. We'll give it the tiniest blast of heat. And another. Okay, well, that's considerably less of a hole there. You can see where it was, because it's not as round, it's a bit dimpled in, because it was just a little test to see if that would work. And it just sort of fell over those ones because they're really little. So we know if we get a surface hole, like a little crater, it's not the end of the world. We can fill that in or apply like a thin layer at the end and cure it. I also think it's a tiny bit cloudy on the top. Maybe it's just because I need to buff it. Maybe because I overcooked it. We'll see. But it's really clear on the bottom. Really clear. It looks pretty cool. We've got a nice green star there. A little bit cloudy on the top. So we'll see what happens when I attempt buffing and shining and polishing and doing a bit more research on how to do that. Because that happens. If you don't know what you're doing, that happens. Nice and clear. Not nice and clear. If I pick the clear end where the nipple is, you can see all the bubbles. So many bubbles. Pretty much no bubbles. I think there's the odd one or two you can see right there. That little, right down, resting on the base of the flower. I don't think there's any in this side of the flower, though it's hard to tell. And there's a few on the surface, which again isn't too bad. Surface ones you can remedy, it seems, which is really good to know. So, bit more of a success today. we will call it there. I'm going to save clearing up for another day and busting bits off. Some of this I can just bust off. Some of it I'm going to need to have a play with the grinder, but we'll save that for another day. This is a step in the right direction, at least. This was close to being yes. Very close to being yes. We're making progress. We will make more progress yet. I know there'll be even less a chance of bubbles if I use something that isn't either like slightly porous like paper is, like slightly absorbent, that is going to hold naturally like the tiniest air pockets here or there. I know like if I cast a small object and stick that in resin, chances are I'll have no bubbles. Chances are, I'm quite confident that I'll have no internal bubbles anyway. I might get surface bubbles still, but I'm quite confident I get no internal bubbles. Or like, I say buttons, referring to my moon, though that was a bead. Things like buttons as well. I reckon I could pop a button in there and I wouldn't have issue with bubbles, as long as I made sure there was none none that got engulfed by the resin where you put the thread through on the button, the little tiny eyes. So we'll take this, not a full success, but a success in the sense that we've made a step forward. I'll take that. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Again, if you do have any hints, tips or tricks when it comes to both UV resin and epoxy resin, I read all the comments and I act on them if and when I can. And I'm definitely up for advice, suggestions, recommendations. I'll try anything, pretty much, when it comes to art. So, yeah. Like if you like what you see, comment if you've got something to say, and subscribe if you really like what you see and you want to see more and know when it's coming. Thank you all again so much. Take care and see you in the next one.